The entire Pokemon market is about to collapse, and here's my prediction as to why. And this is totally just my opinion. This is not factual in any way. This is just what I've noticed and what I think is going to happen next. As we've seen in the past few months, cards are absolutely skyrocketing in prices. But if you look closely, there's also a lot of cards that are coming down even more drastically. One of which is the Burger Chew. Again, this was a free promo card, so you can argue has no worth, whatever it may be. There's a ton of tens out there, but this card went from a couple $100s to now around $80 to $100. And I've seen this on a lot of other cards, maybe not as drastic as this, but if we were at the peak of Pokemon, we wouldn't see these crazy, crazy drops such as cards like this. So my main prediction is I don't think Pokemon cards are going to totally crash where you see 30, 40% off some of the crazy chase cards, but there will be a very noticeable decrease in some of the prices of these top hits. And I think it may take a couple months for us to really see it. I think this next couple months of Christmas hype and Christmas money is going to kind of keep those prices a little bit stable. Maybe even we see a little uptick, but after the new year, I can see prices coming down very, very drastically. I think the biggest change in what I've noticed too is this new PSA 90% comp buyout. Very, very interesting. And I think it's going to change the hobby in a really crazy way. I think a lot of vendors are actually going to get screwed over in the process of the PSA buyouts. Obviously, if you go to a card event and you get offered 70, 60, 70, 80% comps, no one's going to take that if you can just submit it right to PSA. So I would keep my eyes out on the PSA move. It kind of reminds me of a lot of what happened with StockX and StockX kind of taking over the sneaker market. I'm a little worried about what's to come with PSA doing these crazy buyouts at these really high prices. I think initially it'll work, but if it's going to end up like the StockX sneaker resale marketplace, I could see this being a really, really bad thing for the hobby. And on the flip side of that argument, if PSA truly does start accumulating a lot of these cards, they will have a huge control of the marketplace. And again, I can argue it's kind of like the StockX thing. They had pretty much a monopoly on the sneaker resale game. They had competition like GOAT, but StockX really took over the entire marketplace of sneakers for a very long time. And if PSA really, really stays at this where they're buying 90% comps, they're still getting all the money from grading because, as you can see, PSA is a pretty top tier grading company. So I don't know. I'm getting a little worried about what's to come in the next year or even 2 or 3 with the PSA movement. If they really go after this buying process, it's going to get ugly, I think, very, very soon. I'm curious to know your guys' opinion of what you think is to come with the Pokemon market. Do you think it's going to continue to uptick, or will we see a nice price correction across the board on a lot of the hits?